Multipurpose Center in Corpus Christi by Martin Covarrubias, Josh Farias, and Amit Patel.
Project Scope Statement. Objective. The purpose of the proposed project is to build a 5-story multipurpose center in Corpus Christi. Said multipurpose center will begin construction on January 1st of 2020 and will feature nothing but the finest architecture. This grand multipurpose center, with all 5 floors combined, will total 608,000 square feet. With the information that we are given, we will establish a solid scope level report and create the schedule that will be necessary to have our building ready to open to the public. Project requirements. The multi-purpose center will need to meet certain requirements to ensure the success throughout the project and for many years to come. Number 1. Permits obtained by all parties. Number 2. All codes are met by the City of Corpus Christi. Number 3. An engineer approved all design. Number 4. All safety requirements are maintained.
Deliverables. The first floor will be 89,500 square feet and will feature several exhibit halls that will be used for various matters. The second floor will total 96,000 square feet and will emphasize primarily on public speaking and will have multitudes of conference rooms, from small-scale rooms to grand auditoriums that fit any need you may have. In addition, the third and fourth floor will include further space for meetings, totaling at 271,000 square feet. Finally, the fifth floor will present several ballrooms that could be used for various reasons. Project constraints. The constraints we will be facing through the course of this project are few. Assuming that all the permits proceed as planned, there should be not as many constraints. If we are rushed, however, as our construction date is fairly soon. Work breakdown structure. The site preparation will take 118 days, with demolition and relocation taking 62 of those days, and site clearing taking 56. The foundation will take 117 days, with earth shaping taking 64, and foundation taking 53 of those days. The structure will take 180 days, with the generic frame consuming 136 of those days, and the roof taking 44 of those. The openings will be 101 days, with doors taking 55 days and the exterior windows taking 46 days. The finishes will be about 130 days, with the interior taking all 130 of those days. The services will be 174 days, with lifts and elevators taking 34, plumbing taking 35, HVAC taking 44, the electrical taking 35, and the communications and safety taking 26. Here we have our construction schedule, with the activity number, the description, the optimistic estimate, the most likely estimate, the pessimistic estimate, the mean, and the variance of activity. Finally, we have the predecessor activity. For activity 1 is the demolition and relocation, with 58 being the optimistic estimate, 62 being the most likely, and 65 being the pessimistic, with a mean of 61.8, with the 1.4 variance of activity, and it is the first activity. Activity 2 is the site clearing, with 53 being the most optimistic estimate, 56 being the most likely estimate, and 61 being the pessimistic, with the mean of 56.3, with the variance of activity of 1.8, and the predecessor activity is activity 1. Earth shaping is activity 3, with 60 days being the most optimistic, 64 being the most likely, and 68 being the pessimistic, with a mean of 64, with the variance of activity of 1.8 and the predecessor activity being activity 2. Activity 4 is foundations, with the optimistic estimate of 50, 53 being the most likely estimate, and a pessimistic estimate of 58 with the mean of 53.3, and a variance of activity of 1.8, with the predecessor activity being activity 3. Activity 5 is the generic frame, with the optimistic estimate of 130, a most likely estimate of 136, and a pessimistic estimate of 142, with the mean being 136 days, with the variance of activity of 4. The predecessor activity is Activity 4. Activity 6 is the roof, with the optimistic estimate of 42 days, a most likely estimate of 44 days, and a pessimistic estimate of 46 days, with a mean of 44 days. A variance of activity of 0.4, and the predecessor activity being Activity 5. Activity 7 is the doors, with the optimistic estimate of 51, a most likely estimate of 55, and a pessimistic estimate of 59 with the mean of 55, with the variance of activity of 1.8 and the predecessor activity being Activity 5. Activity 8 is the exterior windows with the optimistic estimate of 41, most likely estimate of 46, and a pessimistic estimate of 50, with the mean being 45.8 and a variance of activity of 2.3. The predecessor activity is Activity 5. Activity 9 is the interior, the walls, ceilings, and floors, with optimistic estimate of 121, a most likely estimate of 130, and a pessimistic estimate of 139, with the mean of 130, a variance of activity of 9, and the predecessor activities are 6, 7, and 8. Activity 10 is the lifts and elevators, with the optimistic estimate of 31 days, most likely estimate of 34 days, and a pessimistic estimate of 38 days, leaving us a mean of 34.2 days, with the variance of activity of 1.4 and the predecessor's activities being 6, 7, and 8. Activity 11 is the plumbing, with the optimistic estimate of 34, most likely estimate of 35, and a pessimistic estimate of 38, with a mean of 35.3, and a variance of activity of 0.4, with the predecessor activity being Activity 9. Activity 12 is the HVAC system, with the optimistic estimate of 40, a most likely estimate of 44, and a pessimistic estimate of 48, leaving us at the mean of 44, a variance of activity of 1.8, and the predecessor activity being Activity 9. Activity 13 is the electrical system, with the optimistic estimate of 31 days, a most likely estimate of 35 days, and a pessimistic estimate of 39 days, leaving us with the mean of 35 days, variance of activity of 1.8, and a predecessor activity is Activity 9. And finally, we have Activity 14, which is the security. The optimistic estimate of 25, most likely estimate of 26, and a pessimistic estimate of 28, leaving us a mean of 26.2, with a 0.3 variance of activity, and the predecessor activity is Activity 9.
Gantt chart. Below is our Gantt chart for the construction of our multipurpose center. In total, we are looking at 86 weeks for the construction.
Activity node. Here below you can see the critical path is in this order. Activity 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, then 10.
Cost estimator. We use the cost estimator to find the cost of our multipurpose center in the city of Corpus Christi. Subtotal $30.5 million. Overhead 10%, $3 million. Profit 5%, $1.5 million. Bonding 1%, $305,000. Total budget $35.4 million. Per square foot $58.28. Summary. This is a proposed project to build a 5-story multipurpose center in Corpus Christi. The construction of the multipurpose is set to begin January 1st, 2020. The 5-story center is roughly 608,000 square feet. Throughout the different floors, there will be sections for many activities, such as exhibit halls, conference rooms, auditoriums, etc. The duration of construction for this 5-story multipurpose center is about 86 weeks, and the total cost is $35.4 million. The duration period can be shortened or it can be extended due to the weather conditions or any other problems, and this can affect the total cost of the multipurpose center.